it's almost like the far left, the very extreme transgender activists are using like children as human shields. Because if the children are doing it, well, that makes it wholesome and that makes it so sweet and cute. And what about the children? And so people then are reluctant to criticize them or to push back because no one wants to hurt kids.
I'm a domestic extremist. I'm an extremist. I'm a domesticated extremist. I'm an extremist with children who is upset about grocery store prices just going up, who wonders why we have an income poop in the White House and nobody pays attention to that, or no reporters ask the real tough questions, who wonders why Joe Biden's family all seem to have made money off of adversaries and everybody pretends like it's no big deal, but they're still going after President Trump, even though all of that lies and disinformation has been proven false. It's like I live in upside down land. I do not understand what is happening in our country. When you have, Memorial Day weekend and it gets barely a blimp, and then you have the LGBTQ Pride Month community coming out and it's like an everyday thing, right? Where our children, and I can tell you this is craziness, but when I was 10 years old, like my daughter, I'm playing with Barbie dolls. I'm hanging out with my friends. We're going out on our bikes. We're jumping in the swimming pools, playing. We're doing all kid stuff, out climbing trees. If I'm even thinking about boys, it was probably a poster I had of Scott Baio or something, in my room. And I thought he was cool, but I'm not even thinking about that. We're not even thinking about it. We're trying to annoy them still. Right. And they're annoying us. But now it's like kids in my daughter's grade are like, yeah, I'm bisexual. Like, what? You're 10 years old. You don't even really understand what that means. It's like a crazy upside down war. It's like a culture war. And the people that are basically have lived I would say relatively, and I know there's like these people, I hate that word normal. Nothing is normal. No, there are things that are kind of normal. Right? There are things like, just regular everyday family life and, going to the grocery store, like I said, driving your car to soccer practice, doing family things. All of those things are now like abnormal. Standing up and saying, I don't want this book in my children's school because I don't believe kindergartners should be reading about these kind of extreme sexual behaviors that only adults should be dealing with. Oh my gosh, you're a domestic terrorist. Remember Loudoun County, folks? Remember Virginia? Virginia. That's why, Governor, I truly, truly believe that when the parents stood up in Loudoun County, both Republicans and Democrats and independents, and said, you are not in control, government, of our children's education completely. We are involved in it. We want to know what they're reading. We don't believe in this critical race theory garbage. And we want to know what is going on in the schools. And, that is when Governor Youngkin got elected. That's when he got elected because he stood up for parents, because he was tired of this culture war on every single front. The irreligious left. It's just like anything goes, right? You're not allowed to have any kind of religious beliefs. You're a domestic extremist. Can't do it. Can't do it. Oh, your religious beliefs are going to cross into my sexual books. You can't be there. I want to be able to read books to children, even if I'm dressed up like a freaky demon. I don't even need to talk about, somebody who's transgender. I'm just talking about a man who is dressed up as a freaky demon. You wouldn't even allow your kids to like walk around the mall with that person or if they came over to babysit your kids, you would probably call like the Exorcist. You would be like calling the Catholic Church and you would be just like throwing them out every house. Now they're reading books to our kids. So guess who I'm joined by today? It is going to be so much fun. It is going to be so great. It is Peachy Keenan and her new book, Domestic Extremists. I am so excited to have her on this show. she is going to be amazing. And you know what? She is being sought after, right? She is like the real, like me, like you, like all of you at home doing your thing, making chicken and dumplings, probably, making some chicken soup, hanging out with your family, getting ready to watch a game on TV, getting ready to go with your kids to the park, whatever. You are the weirdos in this upside down world. You are the people that they being this crazy government of ours, that they are targeting. They don't want you to have that relationship with your kids. They don't want you to go to church and, do all the normal things. You are the threat to this new world order. You are the threat to this new world order. You are a domestic extremist. I want you to think about that. And Peachy Keenan will be with us in a moment. You'll find her on Twitter. She is also a contributor to The Federalist. I love The Federalist and The American Mind. But first, I want to tell you what you can do with your kids so you don't have to deal with all these crazy leftist radicals and this irreligious left. You can go to fastgrowingtrees.com because I love fastgrowingtrees.com. It actually allows you and your family to take some time outside, plant, grow, do some amazing, maybe some extreme things with your backyard that you've been thinking about for a long time. Why waste your money on video games and television? And by the way, a lot of terrible movies, except I really do want to see the new Guardian of the Galaxy. I'm going to throw that out there. But why waste your money on that when you can actually spend money on making your yard, your apartment, your home beautiful with trees and fruit plants and gorgeous flowers, right? I want you to breathe some life back into your backyard with fastgrowingtrees.com this spring. From shade to fresh fruit to privacy and natural beauty, you can do that. And like me, you can take your children out, have a wonderful time with planting and doing some things away from television, like I said, and away from the radical left with fastgrowingtrees.com. I live in Region 8. I love this region in Texas. I grow mango trees, olive trees, banana trees. I'm planting all kinds of beautiful flowering trees. It's amazing. And I've got even bushes that I've put in the front yard that change color with the climate. So you can do that too at fastgrowingtrees.com. You'll have your own private nursery assistant. They will help you find out what region of the country you live in and what plants best grow in your region. Join over 1.5 million happy Fast Growing Tree customers. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com/Carter now to get 15% off your entire order. Get 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/Carter. fastgrowingtrees.com/Carter. I'm so excited. Peachy Keenan is here on the Sara Carter Show. She is awesome. And you know what? Peachy, I love, and I'm going to go into your book. Of course, I talked about at the top of the show, domestic extremists. We are all domestic extremists. You've got to go buy her book if you want to know exactly what you are and how to deal with that in this upside down world and deal with the crazies on the left and the radical left. But I love your work, Peachy. I love it because you're fun, you're funny, and sometimes we just need to take a break, even when we're dealing with serious subjects. Like, this is very serious, but we need to, take a step back and kind of find a way to make fun of it so that we don't allow the radical left to know how they're annoying us so badly and how they're driving us crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we don't laugh, we'll cry. And I also think that if we want to win people over to our side, I think it's important that we're the side that's having more fun. And so when I write, I like to make it entertaining, even though the messages are serious. I mean, things are sort of dire, right? Like, they're not peachy keen right now. But if we come across as like dour and negative and boring, who wants to join us? And I think we just have to make our side more appealing.
Absolutely. That's why I think you are the new superhero. You're super peachy. I loved that.
Right.
You're super peachy. You're the new hero for me. I'm going to be, I want that cartoon to exist. I don't know who we can find. We got to find a conservative cartoonist, bring you on, make Peachy, super peachy, and save our children from this crazy world, because this is really different than what we've ever seen in history. And I think, and I know, It's because we have never had these behemoth type of social media corporations in the past. It's always, we've always had, and I think information flow has always been a part of our, humanity. We've seen it in World War II. We saw it in World War I. I'm getting a little bit serious here, but it's with propaganda and such. But we've always been able to kind of tackle that. We've been able to say, okay, that's propaganda, and you're not, no government was able to really take control globally of things. But now on both sides, there's the good side and the bad side. We've had, these massive corporations, these woke corporations that have been pushing their ideas, their culture war on us. And I want you to talk a little bit about that. And then we've been blessed, I think, and we'll get into this in a bit, to have Elon Musk come in and say, hey, with my money, I'm taking Twitter. And guess what? You're not going to control all of the global flow of information. We are going to be an open platform for everyone's ideas, whether that's right or left, but we are going to allow people to speak. Talk a little bit about how you're seeing this kind of evolution in humanity where we have like these global corporations that are pushing this kind of cultural war on all of us.
Yeah, it's so weird because corporations used to be driven by profit and they want to make money. And they do that by appealing to the widest audience. And usually that means being apolitical. It was sort of a famous adage, like, don't talk about politics if you're running a big Fortune 500 company. And somehow now, even the biggest companies have become these like arms of the left. They're just sort of like these sort of quasi-government propaganda institutions, even like banks and things. And it's just so bizarre how they've been taken over by a very small, really, but very loud and very, very volatile political fringe that's really come in and convinced them to forget the consumers, to forget the customers, forget what they want, and just sort of bend the knee to this very small, very far out there, and I would say extremist political ideology. And it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Disney is burning their reputation. I mean, all these companies, the Dodgers here in LA, all these companies who have built up so much goodwill among families are now just happy to torch it, just because a few people said they should.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking about, with not just with Disney and my daughter, and we have 6 children, my husband and I between us.
Wow.
But when
Great.
yeah. And we have a family. We love our kids. I think we're very tolerant people. We're good people. We're a good family. We go to church on Sunday, but we talk to everyone. I'm never in my life would have imagined that my own government, the Department of Justice, would have a division with the FBI that was looking at Catholic Latin worshipers, right? Or people that go to church, or parents who are at the school board meetings, because they care so much about their children that they want them to just have a childhood. Look, this isn't about saying you can't be who you want to be with when you're a grown man or a grown woman. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life, but God help them, because they are trying to push an ideology on my child. And we as parents have a right to protect our children. And I think you would agree with me on this, from this kind of what I see as extremism. Our kids have a right to be kids.
Yeah, it's not just our right to do that we need to fight for. It's sort of like our duty. I mean, we're kind of required to protect your children. Like, you're supposed to protect them from things like, falling into the pool or like, wild animals. And today we have other kinds of predators, and they come dressed in like fun, glittery clothes, or they're, Disney cast members, or they're online and they look great and they look like it's a nice cartoon, but there's a really dangerous message that they're kind of implanting in kids' brains. I mean, being a, domestic extremist, as I call it, it's really ironic because the other side has gone so far to the extreme, and we're just sitting here like normal people. Like, we just want to raise our kids, like you said, and protect them. And they think we're these like crazy lunatics, these dangerous extremists, like they called Like you said, the parents who stand up at a school board meeting are domestic terrorists. The Target designer behind the, tuck friendly, the drag,
Oh
the pro
gosh, that
drag
is.
Target clothes. He called parents who complained to Targets domestic terrorists. So we're being painted as the bad guys when we just want to like do the things that people have always been able to do, which is opt our children out of politics. I don't want to politicize my kids.
Yeah, we're not trying to push anything on anyone. I'm not trying to push anything on anybody, but I don't want to walk into Target and be bombarded with messages of how my family should be, or have my son or my daughter look at, special tucket swimsuits or binding bras, made for children
Right.
that are like 10 years old. They're not even thinking about that. I talked about that at the top of the show. I remember, when I was 10, and I think I'm older than you. I lived overseas in Saudi Arabia, and we lived on a compound. My dad worked for
Wow.
Lockheed Martin. My dad would be like, get out of the house, get on your bikes, go right around. We weren't thinking
Wow.
about whether we were lesbians or whether we were going to be bisexual,
Right.
or who was doing what. We were getting on our bikes, riding around with our friends, causing trouble a little bit, going to the, up to the rec center and swimming in the swimming pool. I feel like our children are just overwhelmed, and it's got to be emotionally hard on them. It's got to be suffocating for them. They're just bombarded with adult messages 24/7. They can't be a kid. Not even on Disney. Not even on
Right.
Disney. The radical monarchs and the lesbian messaging and the,
Right.
pride messaging is all the time.
Yeah, things used to be age appropriate. Content was age appropriate. The school curriculum was age appropriate. And I just wrote about a friend who has a little boy with Down syndrome, and she takes him to a special class for children like him in LA. And she went to the assembly, and it happened to be the Pride assembly. And they got up and they were showing the flag and explaining what each color meant in graphic detail, all the letters of the LGBTQ. And here she is with her little son who has Down syndrome, and he doesn't understand any of this. And in the audience are literally 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and they're just being forced to sit there. And then a school counselor got up and said, if any kids here want to talk to me afterwards about their identity, there's no parents there, and why is this happening in elementary school age? And I've been trying to figure that out. And honestly, I really feel like it's almost like the far left, the very extreme transgender activists are using like children as human shields. Because if the children are doing it, well, that makes it wholesome, and that makes it so sweet and cute. And what about the children? And so people then are reluctant to criticize them or to push back because no one wants to hurt kids. It's very nefarious.
That is a brilliant point. That is brilliant, Peachy. And when I was in Afghanistan, we would talk about that, but in a different context, where the Taliban would give the children, for example, fake guns, fake weapons that looked real, and then they'd send them out, and the kids would be pointing them at US soldiers, and it was very confusing. And, they would use those children as targets, right? So that if the soldier hit a child and didn't realize it was a fake gun, then of course we were, US soldiers were killing children, right? Or they would use them as shields to protect themselves because the real fighters were behind the kids, right? So you couldn't target a child. You wouldn't want to, of course not. You're brilliant. That's exactly, I believe, a point of what the left is doing. They are using children as human shields. That is a really great point. And that makes sense because when I saw the Pride Parade in LA, and I was watching it on Twitter, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Twitter now, but I was watching part of that Pride Parade, and there was a man that was naked, that was tied up on a truck, and they were hitting him with a whip. Another guy was in the middle of the street in front of children and grownups. I'm like, what is this? We would arrest people for doing that in front of children, for being pedophiles before, and now we're celebrating this. What is going on here?
It feels like they're not just pride parades this year. They're really victory parades.
They sure are victory parades. And I don't even know how an adult man could behave that way in front of strangers and children anyways. I don't care if he does that in the privacy of his home. I don't need to have that person in my life, but I don't even understand how people would, I think even worse, does it surprise you that people bring their children to these parades to see that or to push this on them? Do you think these parents are like desperate for attention and desperately need to belong to some kind of group or want to be a victim? What's going on there?
It's just virtue signaling. And like you said, no one cared. No one used to care. There's been a pride parade in West Hollywood for years. Dodger Stadium has had Pride Night for 10 years. No one cared. No one protested. It was not a thing. You would never read about it. The only change that's happened in just the last couple of years is turning this all into something that's family friendly. And, I think it started with like the drag queen story hour with toddlers. And I think that's what you and I and other normal people are pushing back on. Like, look, you guys can do what you want. This is not about, you're not allowed to be gay. Like, go ahead, like do that, whatever you want. Just leave the kids out of it. That's all we want.
Right. Just leave the kids. And you're a mother of 5 children, right?
Yeah.
Do you think today's media and culture discount and attack motherhood? Do you think they just want that over with?
Oh, for sure. I mean, life is not designed for a mother of multiple children. I mean, for everything from how many kids you can fit into the car or how many kids you can fit into a hotel room. I always like to joke about them trying to make everything like a car-free street. You just walkable. I'm like, well, how do you get 5 kids to and from Costco if you have to walk there? Like, what? The world is not really designed to promote and help mothers who want to have like a larger family. It feels like all these forces are working against you. And then not to mention like the dirty looks, you get at the grocery store when you have everybody with you or walking into mass. Like, look at all those kids. I mean, I've gotten every comment in the book. I'm sure you have too. Don't you know how kids are made?
Like, how do you do that? Like, almost like
do it.
Disgusting. Like, wow, why would
it's
you?
Disgusting.
I'm disgusting. Like, they're amazing. I love them. I'm like I am crazy about children. I love them. I love animals. My house is really like Dr. Dolittle meets like, what was it? The Seven Sisters or whatever. It's like, there's so much going on. Just ask any of my producers. They're like, I don't know how you do that either. Thank you, Allegiance Gold. Gold and silver allow you to protect what you've worked so hard for. And I'm so grateful to have Allegiance Gold as a sponsor of the Sara Carter Show. And right now you can get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. Allegiance Gold has the highest ratings in the industry, folks. 5 stars with TrustLink, AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance, and they have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. You just can't get better than that. Don't just take it from me. Do your own research. Find out why gold is such a great way to diversify your funding and your money and protect you and your family in the future. Remember, get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. So don't wait, call or click today, 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, SARA, or go to protectwithsara.com. We can't control the Biden administration, folks, but we can prepare. That's 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, SARA, or protectwithsara.com. Hey, domestic extremists, I know you're out there. If you want more episodes like this and interviews and cultural superheroes like Peachy, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you. It really does make a difference. I love that in your book, you have this one part in your book. It's the title, of course, is a play on words, domestic extremists, but you include this hilarious excerpt. It's like, in this house, we believe parents are the bosses of their kids. Babies are good. More babies are better. 2 sexes are plenty. Oh, isn't that the truth? Your career is overrated. Absolutely. Feminism is how the unpopular and undateable cope with life. Very true. Mainstream American culture destroys families. We are going to win. Talk about that. Talk about how we're going to win. I
People have
believe
been
it.
asking me this. Yeah, I mean, the subtitle of the book is A Practical Guide to Winning the Culture War. So I have to sort of now answer. Everyone's asking me, well, how are we going to do it? I think the answer is, everyone wants a short-term win. Everyone wants it to be over in 2 weeks and we cleaned it all up and we're back to normal. But I really think that, the left has basically a 100-year head start on us, their 100-year march through the institutions. And like this year was all their victory parades are happening this month. They're sort of done. They won, but it's not too late because they went so far that now you're seeing a kind of counter revolution rise up. I really truly believe this. I think it started during COVID with the rise of parent activists, confronting school boards and sort of people realizing like who the people were on the school boards putting the pornography into the elementary school libraries and teaching kids all this crazy stuff. People finally woke up and parents asserted themselves and they're really leading the charge here. So it's very encouraging. I think that, the argument I make in the book is that we need to start now to sort of reject everything that was going on, reject feminism, reject the messages that we're getting, like how to live our lives, just stay on a dating app for 20 years, put on your Apple VR headset and watch pornography all day. We need to sort of reject that, encourage people to have maybe an extra kid or two. And that is how we win. And it has to be like a long-term kind of mindset here.
Right. And you have a lot of faith. And I think that's important too. And I also think that we've strayed away from, that faith-centered community, that faith-centered family. Some of us, not all of us. I do believe the glass is half full. Do you think that there's going to be maybe a pendulum swing in that direction as well? Like where people are going to at least find something bigger and better than yourselves. I mean, I know it's hard to believe in the world of me, but I think when we give our lives to something else, and when even when it's loving another animal or a baby or taking care of the homeless or whatever, and finding our faith in church and giving ourselves to God, that there is something miraculous about that. Do you think we'll have that pendulum swing again?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, right now, for example, I'm a Roman Catholic and I converted about 10 years ago. And I mean, when I go to Mass, the Mass is packed. And the parishes that seem to be doing the best, at least here in Southern California, are the parishes where the priest is more conservative, where he's not trying to kind of hide, the catechism, like hide, the like scary rules of how to be Catholic. The best,
so do you
most
go to Latin Mass? Because I just really want to know who I'm dealing with here.
I have been to Latin Mass. We don't go regularly. I don't want to get on the FBI's list of actual domestic extremists because that's what it makes you.
Now you and I, that's it. It's over. It's over, Peachy. You are a domestic extremist.
That's right. But even in the Catholic Church, the Pope is trying to shut down the traditional Latin Mass. He's sort of like a liberal, and the Catholic Church is sort of split into, the liberal wing and the more conservative American wing. And there's an internal conflict going on. But all the energy and all the young families that I see going to these more conservative parishes does fill me with hope. I think that, among like young people, there are scenes popping up in like New York City that are, where young women and men are like Catholic now because it's sort of trendy. So I think we just have to, it's fine if it's a LARP. Like one day, pretending to be Catholic maybe might actually lead to someone becoming Catholic. So I think it's very encouraging.
I do too. That's what I did. I pretended for a while and then I became Catholic. It was kind of like one of those things. I'm still kind of floating there. I always go to Catholic Mass. I love it. And my kids are the same. I feel like it's a great place. I mean, no matter where you go to church, no matter what your belief is, I think and I've traveled a lot of the world, when you care more about others than yourself, your life becomes happier when you find some center in God, when you give something more than yourself. And I think that's the difference. Speaking of other superheroes, Elon Musk, you're a superhero, Peachy, and I believe Elon Musk is too.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about him before I let you go, and what you think about his purchase of Twitter and how that affected your ability to come, to be so vocal and be able to write anonymously and get your thoughts out there and maybe generate this army of good people that want to win back their nation.
Well, I love Elon, and Twitter has definitely gotten so much better since he bought it. I'm just very thankful to him. Thank you, Elon. I mean, for a long time, my like Twitter follower count was sort of frozen. No matter what happened, no matter, like it would just be the same exact number. And then every so often there'd be a purge and I would lose like a few thousand, few hundred followers for no reason. Peachy Keenan is I think like my third Twitter account because the first two got suspended for just like saying random, pro-Republican or conservative, anti-Hillary stuff. Nothing that would even be remotely like against the rules. They would suspend me. And so I finally, I started being Peachy Keenan and just sort of, cross my fingers and hope they wouldn't suspend me again. And I realized like, okay, I can't, say certain things. And I had to be careful because you don't want to get suspended. Mm-hmm. You're just trying to express, what are considered basically normal conservative views. So I'm really thankful to him. And I think, we all owe him a debt. I mean, he spent a lot of his own money. That's why I didn't mind, by spending $8 a month on the blue check. I felt like that's sort of the least I can do to what's that?
That's what I did too. I didn't even care. I'm like, I'll pay. I believe in capitalism. Go for it.
Yeah. And I think it's been, obviously Twitter has been a great place for writers to sort of test ideas out and make friends. I've made in real life friends on Twitter. And, from there I started writing for the American Mind and, got a book deal. And all this is because my husband made the mistake of showing me how to use Twitter a few years ago.
That's a great story. I didn't know that. We'll have to thank your husband. We should bring him on.
Yeah.
We should bring him on the time. I mean, but it really is, I think, for the American public and for the world in general. I mean, when you stifle people's ability to speak, we've seen that throughout history, how damaging and how dangerous that is, right? To the republic, to democracy, to freedom and liberty. And being able to have a platform that is open to everyone. And he's made that very clear. Has really given me hope. And I know it's given a lot of others hope. I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like had he not purchased it. And by the way, same thing happened with me. And in fact, there's still some weird algorithm issues on Twitter that I know he's working out just because some people have been affected by that. Last question. Where can we get your great book, Domestic Extremists? Where can our listeners go to get it? And any last great advice for moms and dads out there who are facing, these kind of crazy extremist schools? You think they should take their kids out, or what do you think they should do? Speak up.
So just for the advice part, I include some of that in my book, like what you can do right now. And one of the pieces of advice I give people all the time is, yes, if your school at the first sign of like a drag queen or whatever it is at your school, I think you should run. I think you should pull the kids and don't look back. There are so many great alternative schools. There are classical schools. There's homeschooling. There's no reason to leave your kid in what has become, the public schools used to be great, but now they become really just like woke indoctrination centers. I mean, not every school, but many of them, especially if you live in a blue state. Yes, get out now. And in terms of where to find my book, it came out yesterday, which is very exciting. It's available on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, Books A Million. And you can also follow me on Twitter at KeenanPeachy and read me at my Substack, peachykeenan.substack.com.
So excited. Yes. And I hope you come back on the show, Peachy. And I would love to go when I'm in LA. I'm going to look you up. I'm going to find you. We're going to go out.
Please do.
I want to see you wear that superhero cape and get out there in public. Yeah. I promise I'll stand right beside you. Thank you so much for all you do, Peachy. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. I really appreciate all the time you've taken, and I know you're in a rush, so I'm going to let you go. I salute you. Thank you.
I salute you. Thank you, Sara. Great to be here.
So great having Peachy Keenan, Peachy Keen, superhero on the show today. I mean, really, she gives me, and I hope she gave you, a lot of hope that we're out there. Guys, we're not alone. we together will win back our nation and our families and our communities and our churches. But we cannot be quiet. We've got to speak up. We've got to write about it. We've got to be fun about it. We got to do things the right way. We're going to do it with so much love, and the warfare will be at the voting booth, and we will speak out and we'll pull our kids out of those schools when they are teaching them these radical ideas. And we'll just say, no, thank you. No, thank you. We want to put a lawmaker in there that's going to give our tax dollars a reason to protect our children, where we'll be able to have more control over our own taxes, be able to put our kids in any school that we want. Guys, it is up to us, each and every one of us, to fight this fight together. No one person can do this alone. No one person can do this alone. We have to stand up for one another, support each other, do things together, and uplift each other. Don't be worried. We all have a place in this battle, right? We all have our voices, and it means something. And women, get out there and support other women who are doing this, like Peachy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at scarterdc. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless our families and our children. And God bless the great state of Texas.